Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to focus our efforts and our discussion on 3 assault rifles that I don't think are talked about enough, comparing the 3 to each other and where they kind of sit amongst all the assault rifles I've unlocked so far. So those 3 weapons are going to be SG-550, AUG A3, and the ACR. Now, the problem with a lot of these weapons is the fact that the M4 exists. M4 is incredible, crazy fast TTK, and really only loses the long game fight to an AR-15, which is also pretty broken at the moment. My goal today is not to discuss weapons we already know are the best. We're going to explore some options like this ACR, which could have a kind of unique place considering it was one of my favorite weapons in Modern Warfare 2. On top of that, another nostalgia trip being the AUG A3, which I was first introduced to on the N64 in World's Not Enough. Now the SG-550 is somewhat new to me and can actually compete quite well in a lot of different situations. So, let's start with how we normally do this, the worst one. Unfortunately, and I kind of hate to say this, the worst one's definitely the ACR. When I unlocked this weapon, I thought it'd be another headshot machine, similar to the Modern Warfare 2 days. However, the vertical recoil isn't that great. You're kind of forced to use that vertical recoil grip, which I have attached on here. Fire rate is okay. I think it's exact same as the M4A1, and you can get some magazines that basically make that reload speed a little better. Problem is that 25 damage means your TTK is pretty much nerfed at all ranges. So you lose to sniper rifles at long range, you lose the M4A1 up close, not including all the other SMGs that are amazing, and you just feel like out of place no matter where you are with this weapon. I consistently told myself that perhaps if I get the new attachment, new extended mag, or the quick draw mag, my life would change. But truthfully, it didn't seem to matter what I attached to this weapon. None of them really seemed to change the fact that it just wasn't great. Now, I did find some success holding corners or getting flanks. There's just so many things holding this gun back, it was hard to be consistent. That 25 damage hurts it so much, considering the fire rate is identical to a lot of other weapons in this class. And yes, you may be wondering why I haven't maxed out the M4. Well, I know the M4 is one of the best weapons in the game if you just look at the reload speed, TTK on that damage with the fire rate. You can tap at long ranges. It's a perfect weapon. I don't need to go all the way to extended mag on it and grind that weapon out to prove that to myself. I like trying weapons out that are a little different, and when you compare the M4 to the ACR, yeah, the M4 is incredible. The only time I felt like the ACR did anything comparable was when someone wasn't already shooting at you. And that's pretty bad considering most gunfights are against the M4, the Vector, and then probably the AK-15. Your TTK just can't compete. Sometimes at ranges like this, you can find some success, but you'll also notice you get a lot of hit markers, doing 25 damage, kind of not breaking through any armor, and the velocity isn't fantastic. So it's just poor all around in my opinion. And it's kind of sad because I was going to love this weapon, but I just couldn't find that success like I did with some of the other ones we're going to talk about here shortly. Sadly, my advice to you guys is, you know, dodge this weapon just like I'm about to dodge this RPG. It's kind of a miss, and I don't think it's something to be excited for, unfortunately. So the next weapon on the list, and one I included in my SMG kind of worst to best video, it's SG-550 because I feel like it fits a lot of roles. It's got a decent magazine size. You can get a quick attach, which is what I often run, just to keep you kind of in the fight firing bullets more often. It's got a really, really good aim down sight time, which a lot of people overlook, which allows you to basically scope in, scope out, and feel like this is not an assault rifle. 27 damage is a little low, a little better than the ACR, and truthfully the TTK on it feels way nicer. Don't know what it is, it's way better at killing people than the ACR. You can rock this thing up close with the reload speed, throw tactical on it if you want it to be a laser beam, or at least a little bit more accurate. The only kind of difficulty is sometimes that horizontal recoil can be a bit of a problem, and this weapon will pretty much require a suppressor. We'll talk about that in a second, but essentially the effect of firing and the muzzle flash is so crazy, it's absurd. I'll show an example of this in a moment, but essentially this is how I build mine, going for reload speed, doing lots of damage, reloading, shooting, really, really fast aim down sight time, and not terrible TTK time with some solid damage numbers. One thing not to be overlooked is you do have a little bit more armor damage as well, so you can rip through helmets and those support classes a little bit easier. Not quite as good as our last weapon on this list, but it still functions quite well, and something that I think is overlooked quite a bit is that armor damage rating. So, as you've seen there, you can aim down sights super fast in this thing. It's super snappy, and it feels great. I wish it did a little bit more damage, and you could probably compete with an M4 up close. But as an all-around, you know, clear some rooms, reload, clear another angle, it's a smooth weapon. And I actually love it and think that it outcompetes a lot of the SMGs that everyone loves. So, it's definitely worth grinding for that suppressor if you can. It does end up being worth it, and I think a lot of people get this weapon, see the muzzle flash, and have a terribly hard time picking targets. Yeah, it can be frustrating, I get it, and 300 kills is quite a grind. But if you're going to use this weapon, it's almost necessary. Because, as you just saw there, you can lose track of a medium to long range target instantly as soon as you start firing. Couple that with a nighttime map, when you're using night vision, it was very surprising how bright it gets. I do believe there are some other attachments that you can use that reduce that muzzle flash a little bit. Didn't really mess around with them too much. I basically just grinded right to that suppressor, and I've been running it ever since. Now finally, we get to move into the last weapon on our list. That is the AUG A3. AUG A3 has always been kind of a cool weapon in my opinion. I think it was called the Bull Pump in World's Not Enough. And the sound, everything about the weapon just feels cool. One thing that I think this weapon does that is pretty exciting is you do have a 45 round mag, an extended A and extended B that don't apply a whole lot of vertical and horizontal recoil, so that can be something you use. Now I prefer going quick mag over either of the extended mag options and then using the vertical grip instead of the B25, because a 2.3 reload time is probably good enough with just a quick draw mag, and it's not too often I really need those extra 5 or 10 bullets. So you can run VAM if you want to make this thing a laser beam, keeping vertical and horizontal recoil down below 1 or just at 1. It's pretty impressive. Not to mention the velocity sits around 900 or even more than that if you're using certain attachments. It means this thing's an absolute laser at medium to long range with those bullets smashing into people doing 12 armor damage. Its damage is kind of like a little sweet spot. It's not super overtuned. It's almost perfect. You can put a heavy or long barrel on it, which works quite well just to bump it up to 32.5. You can run a suppressor on it, which also feels quite good, just meaning your vertical recoil is a little bit changed. I've done them all and pretty much enjoyed almost every way I've used or set up this weapon, simply because its aim down time is good enough, reload speed's pretty solid, velocity's ridiculous on its bullets, and it does pretty good damage across the board. So, if I were going to pick between these three, I'd definitely be running the AUG, simply because it fits kind of a role that the M4 or the AK-15 can't even really do all that well. You can tap fire with the AR-15 and deal pretty crazy damage. But full auto with the AUG, ripping through a whole bunch of players, feels really, really nice. And then, after you do that, you can quickly follow it up with a full spray, like beyond 100 meters, which isn't very common for many assault rifles. And yes, I know it's not the best assault rifle in the game, but it is an option that I think a lot of people could enjoy. And truthfully, I'll probably be running this gun a lot more going forward. If you get a guy in the open, basically done for. It kills a lot faster than I think people realize, because that velocity means you're hitting your target so much quicker, and it feels snappier and responsive. You can mow down a lot of snipers with this gun, full auto spray, 200 meters across the map. Suppressor makes it a little bit more difficult. I still use the suppressor, especially on the nighttime map. Other than that, you can kind of deck this weapon out how you like, and once you get to that 300 kill kind of total, suppressor, VAM, tactical, barrel, anything you like works quite well. So, thank you all for watching once again, and not to be overlooked, deal okay damage, and the velocity on these bullets mean you're able to hit helicopter pilots and people in vehicles at further ranges way faster. As you'll see here, the thing absolutely chunks that mini bird, dealing 20 damage, and I missed most of those shots. I know this vehicle's been ripping into him too, so I know he's low. Hitting the pilot, and eventually we do actually finish him off with the AUG A3. I think it's kind of overlooked how good this thing can be at mowing down people in planes. I've hit and consecutively hit both pilots and occupants of many vehicles at pretty solid ranges because the velocity and damage on this thing is solid enough to really make them sweat. So, that's it for this little kind of mini ranking. I know there's a lot of other weapons out there that probably outperform the ones I talked about today, but I want to explore some options that not everyone's talking about. And truthfully, I do enjoy, and this is kind of my main thing with gaming, I enjoy options. I enjoy running things that aren't always considered the best.
Oh shit, I was about to shoot a rocket too. That guy was super dead.